Hey guys, it's Trina. Welcome to my garden. So on today's herb talk, we're going to be talking about the herb yarrow. Yarrow is a super important herb. If this was like, I can only take 5 herbs with me to like the apocalypse or something like that, I would definitely take yarrow. Well, yarrow and cayenne pepper are kind of like neck and neck, and I'm going to tell you why. So I love to go into the origin story of how yarrow began, but honestly, let's just be real, it began with God, okay? You know, there's a lot of stories about herbs where it's like, oh, it was used back in this war, or it was used by this mythical creature, but like at the end of the day, herbs are made by God, and that's where it started. And he gave us all the herbs of the world for our just like at our discretion, at our fingertips, you know what I mean? So let's use it to heal our bodies. Yeah, okay. So yarrow, you can use it in powder form, dry, just dry it out and ground it up, you know. We use the aerial parts. Aerial parts just means that any part that is above the ground. So but the aerial parts are usually what's used for the medicine. The flowers are the strongest part, but the leaves are quite good as well. The native flower is white, but it can bloom in like soft pastel colors. It's really pretty. It actually makes a pretty like a bouquet, you know, if you have some flowers and stuff like that. You can put some yarrow, but it comes in like white, pink to red, and even yellow. So let's get into the medicinal uses, because that's all, you know, what we want to get into the nitty gritty. The leaf and the flower, like I said, is the medicine. It has some astringency, so, you know, it dries things up, you know, it tightens things up a little, pulls a little of the extra fluid out. It has alkaloids that constrict bleeding vessels. Yeah, so its main use of yarrow is to help stop wounds bleeding, cuts bleeding, you know what I mean? So it's just like a fascinating herb. So it can stop wounds from bleeding. It has alkaloids that constrict the bleeding vessels. Like I said, it has some chemistry that aids clotting and coagulation. Okay, so this is all helping to aid the wound, so it can stop bleeding so much, so you won't lose your life. For bleeding, it's a fantastic plant for internal and topically, right? So say you get a cut, what I would do is just like take some yarrow, put it in your mortar or your herb crusher, whatever you want to call it, crush up the yarrow, mix it with a little bit of water, and put that paste, oh no, my paper, put that paste on your wound, and it should stop the bleeding literally within a minute, within seconds, you know. It's been used for like gunshot wounds, cuts, scrapes, etc. That's how you're like gunshot wounds. Yes, babe, gunshot wounds. Now you see why I want this herb in my like apocalyptic. I think I'm also gonna do a separate video where, wait, let the car pass by. Nothing to see here. We're just talking herbs. But I think I'm gonna do a series of like what 5 or 10 herbs that I would be a must-have for like the apocalypse, you know, or the end times, should I say, because that's real. Anywhoosie, so yarrow powder mixed with water, like I said, stuff on your wrist. You can also use it internally as a tincture. I know a veterinarian, dang, what is his name? I watch him all the time, but he would have dogs come in that would get hit by a car, and they have like internal bleeding, my bad. They would have white gums. They just look awful, right? But you would give them yarrow internally with a tincture, and it would really help stop the bleeding. Their gums would start turning pink again, and it would start like perking up, basically. Yarrow is a good antibiotic. You know, it kills bacteria, right? So it's not just like fascinating, stop bleeding and kills bacteria. Like, it's a win-win. Effective as a poultice for wounds, so it's good anti-inflammatory functions as well. Yarrow is a good diuretic, so it makes you want to pee more, basically, which is good if you have like a bladder infection, if you have like a uterine infection. Yarrow can help with that because of the diuretic properties. It helps you flush out the infection. You can take it as a tea. That's always lovely. The smell, to me, I'm actually gonna get some yarrow and show you. I have it dried in my apothecary, but the smells like picklish, like a floral picklish smell to me. I don't know. It's good for bee stings. Like I said, it has that anti-inflammatory properties. So it's really good for bee stings. Yarrow is what herbalists call an anodyne. That's when something is applied to a mucous membrane, like your gums, and it could stop the pain. Like I know you guys seen like on social media, like, oh, chew a clove and it could stop like tooth pain and something like that. So cloves are also a good anodyne, but you know, I like yarrow as well. It's almost as good as Yarrow, honestly. But yeah, so like for your tooth, just grind up some fresh root. This is where you would use the Yarrow root, not the aerial part. So with the toothaches, just grind up some fresh root, put it on the tooth, or use it as a tincture and put it on that pain in the specific area. Just squirt it in that specific area, and yeah, it'd be best for it, and it would kill that pain in no time. Alrighty, Yarrow can help with menstrual pain, and it has some antispasmodic properties, which just helps relieve the muscles or cramps in the body. Yarrow can also break fevers. 2 ways you can break a fever, basically. So you can have an antipyretic plant, which is a plant that works to lower your body temperature to alleviate the symptoms, right, associated with the fever. But the other way to break a fever is a diaphoretic, which means that it induces sweating to cool the body down, to reduce the fever or detoxify the body, right? So Yarrow is a diaphoretic, which makes you sweat, so it helps detoxify the body. Fevers, I want to let you know, are actually not bad, so to say, because it's actually your body reaction on trying to get rid of the infection. So it's not a bad thing unless you're like 106 degrees, like unless you're like not degrees, unless you're like 106 Fahrenheit, that's a temperature, then you need to take an antipyretic to turn it off, okay? But a diaphoretic just helps the fever kind of do its thing, you know. You gotta sweat it out. That's why people say, like, you gotta sweat out the fever. This Yarrow's gonna help you sweat out the fever. There's some other herbs that are really good to help you break into a sweat as well. So when you take Yarrow in a hot cup of tea and wrap up in a blanket, you will break into a sweat. It will accentuate what the fever is doing. It will actually break the fever, guys. Okay, so this is tincture versus poultice. For rapid application for internal bleeding, I would use a tincture. Like I said, it's just faster. You can put it in a powder and in water and drink it if that's all you have. Like, say you have some Yarrow and then you just have some water and you want to get it in you internally. If that's all you have, babe, use it. You know what I mean? Where am I? Or you can just make a tea. You know what I mean? Don't use Yarrow tinctures on open wounds for bleeding. And the reason why you don't want to use Yarrow tinctures for open wounds is because you're like flushing it out. A tincture is a liquid, so it would just be washing away the body, trying to form clots to stop the bleeding. Like, can you imagine? The body's like trying to form a clot, so you keep washing it away with the tincture. That's why it's better to do a poultice topically for a wound instead of like squirting the tincture on. It's more internal. Also, alcohol on a wound would burn, because, you know, for tinctures, you use alcohol to make tinctures, so not the most pleasant feeling. You can use a teaspoon of Yarrow tincture with 2 ounces of water on a cotton and put it on a wound, but just never flush with the tincture. Remember that. It's best for open wound to mix the powder with a little water, make a thick paste, and put it on. So I just, you know, I like to reiterate things in case you didn't get me the first time or the second time. I could do the third time. Oh, hold on a second. I gave the lady across the street some of my comfrey salve because she had a really bad bruise on her face because she fell flat on her face, and she just waved to me saying it healed. So I'm gonna go talk to her for a second. I wish I can get her for a testimony, but you know, not everyone likes to be on camera, which is fine. But literally her whole face was like puffy, swollen, literally 3 days ago. I gave her the comfrey 3 days ago, and today her face is not puffy, not swollen. She has this small little bruise, but the bruise was all over the left side of her face. Like, it's amazing. So if you want to get you some comfrey salve, definitely check out trinasgarden.company.site and get you some, because it works. Don't take me, take her word for it, even though she doesn't want to get on camera. But that's what the whole interaction was. I wanted to see her face up close to see how well you know, it worked with her, and it did, so I'm so happy. Anyway, back to some Yarrow. Okay, so these are for the do not use. So do not use if you're pregnant, if you're nursing. Some of Yarrow effects on the uterus has to do with like hormonal regulation, and you just don't want to mess around with your hormones if you have a baby on the way. So that's why you shouldn't use while you're pregnant. And yeah, that is it for today's herb talk with Yarrow. It's a fantastic herb. I think tomorrow I want to go over cayenne, because cayenne also has some of the similar properties of Yarrow, but it's even more amazing. So that's why I'm just kind of like Yarrow and cayenne is kind of like neck and neck. But yeah, thank you for joining today's herb talk. I hope and pray that you have a lovely rest of your day, and you know that you continue to learn with me, and hopefully I can continue to be your local herbalist. Go check out trinasgarden.company.site, get you some goodies, stock up in case you also fall down on your face or you get a random cut or a bruise. I also have Nature's Neosporin that I'm restocking, so definitely get you some of that. I will see you next time on Herb Talk.